chosen by the Empress. Ryan Cole never imagined his quiet life on a remote mining station would change the entire galaxy. He was only a simple human engineer who worked long night shifts, tightened bolts, fixed broken pipes, and tried to stay away from trouble. For Ryan, every day was the same quiet routine. But that ordinary rhythm shattered the moment the alarms began to scream through the station's metallic halls. The floor vibrated under his feet as if something enormous had arrived outside. Ryan rushed to the observation deck with the other workers, expecting maybe a damaged cargo ship or a meteor passing too close. Instead, they saw something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Thousands of silver ships hung outside the station like a sea of shining moons. Their polished hulls reflected the blue star nearby, making the darkness glow like crystal. No one spoke. No one even breathed. The ships were not human. Everyone knew their design. Everyone in the galaxy feared them. They belonged to the most powerful empire in known space, the Zarenth Empire. And if the Zarenth were here, it meant something serious, something dangerous, something life-changing. Ryan's heart thumped in his chest. The station commander shouted orders, telling everyone to move away from windows, hide, or prepare for evacuation. But before anyone could react, the largest ship opened its gates. A single beam of purple light shot forward and connected directly to the station's docking bay. It was a secure boarding tunnel used only by royalty and high command. "Why are they coming here?" one worker whispered with shaking hands. Ryan did not answer. He had no idea. He didn't even think the Empire knew this tiny mining station existed. Yet the royal guards of the Zarenth did not arrive by accident. They marched through the glowing tunnel in perfect formation, armored in silver plates that hummed with energy. Their eyes glowed blue like cold stars. Their presence filled the air with a crushing pressure that made humans step back instinctively. The commander tried to greet them, but the lead guard raised her hand sharply. "We are not here for negotiation," she said, her voice echoing like metal on stone. "We are here for a human." Everyone froze. A human? But who? Why? The guards spread through the hallway, scanning every terrified worker. Their devices beeped whenever they passed Ryan, but he didn't understand what that meant. He tried to hide behind a cargo crate, but one guard stopped right in front of him and spoke a single sentence that changed his life forever. "Found him," she said. "The Empress has chosen this one." Ryan felt the world collapse around him. "Chosen me for what?" he asked, his voice shaking. "There must be some mistake." But the guards surrounded him instantly, not with hostility, but with the kind of respect given to someone important, someone dangerous, someone valuable. Before he could argue, he was escorted into the royal tunnel. His co-workers stared with wide eyes as if he were walking into another universe. Maybe he was. When Ryan stepped into the royal flagship, he felt overwhelmed by the beauty inside. The walls were made of living metal that shifted like water, glowing with soft pink and blue light. Alien symbols floated in the air like tiny stars. The ship felt alive, warm, and ancient. It was nothing like human ships, which were cold, noisy, and mechanical. The guards led him through long, golden corridors until they reached the heart of the ship. A pair of massive doors opened silently, revealing a throne room so large it could hold a small city. At the far end sat the Empress of the Zarenth Empire herself. Charlene Vera, ruler of 1,000,000 star systems, the most feared being in the galaxy and the most mysterious. She was tall, elegant, and radiant. Her skin glowed faintly like starlight. Her hair floated behind her like silver fire. And when her eyes met Ryan's, they were filled with something he never expected from an alien ruler. Warmth, curiosity, and something deeper. She rose from her throne and approached him slowly. Her steps were soft, almost graceful, yet every movement carried the weight of 1,000 worlds. Ryan felt like he should kneel, but his legs were frozen, not from fear, but from confusion. When she reached him, she raised her hand and gently touched his cheek as if she were touching something precious. Ryan's breath caught in his throat. She whispered a sentence that chilled him to the bone and heated his face at the same time. "You belong to me," she said softly. "I have chosen you as my mate." The guards bowed instantly. Ryan's heart nearly stopped. "Why me? I don't even know you," he stammered. The Empress smiled, a rare, soft smile that could start a war or stop one. "You showed courage when your own people left you behind," she said. "I have watched you for years, human. You risked your life for a child not of your species. You acted with honor when others acted with fear." Ryan blinked in shock. He had no idea she knew about that moment. He had no idea anyone knew. It had happened during a pirate attack 3 years ago. He had saved a small alien child hiding under broken machinery. He thought no one saw him. The Empress leaned closer, her voice a whisper of starlight. "You are the one I want, Ryan Cole. You will stand beside me as my mate." The room fell silent. The galaxy had changed. His life had changed, and Ryan realized something terrifying. He didn't have a choice.
The human who saw her soul. Princess Liara tried to hide her shaking hands as she held her silver mask. Her heart still echoed with Aiden's words, words she never thought she would hear in her lifetime. A human, someone from a distant world, had looked at her scars without fear, without disgust, without pity. He saw strength instead of shame, and that shook her more than rejection ever had. Aiden stood quietly in the garden, waiting for her to speak. His presence felt strangely calm, like a warm fire in a cold night. Liara slowly placed her mask back onto her face, but something inside her felt different, lighter, not as broken as before. "You should return to the Emperor," she whispered, trying to regain control of her emotions. "He will be waiting for you." Aiden nodded, but his eyes lingered on her gently. "If you ever want to talk," he said softly, "I'm here." Liara's breath caught. No prince had ever offered her something so simple, so human. Aiden walked away, leaving her confused, hopeful, and afraid of what she was feeling. The next morning, the palace buzzed with activity. Diplomats, nobles, and guards hurried through the halls, preparing for peace negotiations with the humans. Liara tried to keep her distance, but fate had other plans. As she walked toward the council chamber, she saw Aiden standing with her father, the Emperor. The two were discussing trade routes and border safety. Aiden looked confident and professional, but when he noticed Liara, his expression softened instantly. "Princess," he said, politely, bowing slightly. Liara felt a warmth rise to her cheeks. She bowed in return. "Captain Cross," she replied softly. Several alien nobles nearby exchanged unpleasant glances. One whispered loudly, "The human shows her too much attention." Another muttered, "It would be a disgrace if she talked to him." Liara felt her chest tighten. The same old humiliation returned. But before she could shrink away, Aiden stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Do not listen to them," he said firmly. "They don't deserve your pain." She looked up at him, surprised. "How do you know what hurts me?" she whispered. Aiden smiled faintly. "I've seen soldiers hide their wounds behind armor, but scars of the heart are harder to carry." Liara bit her lip, fighting the urge to cry again. She wasn't used to kindness, not like this. Later that day, Liara led Aiden on a tour of the palace gardens. It was her father's request. He wanted the human captain to feel welcomed. But Liara found herself enjoying Aiden's company far more than she expected. He asked her questions no one had ever asked. What do you like to draw? What is your favorite star? What do you dream of? Simple things, human things, things that made her feel alive. They walked through the glowing flower fields, and Aiden finally asked the question she feared. "Princess," he said gently, "how did you get your scars?" Liara froze. Her fingers touched the edge of her mask instinctively. "You don't have to tell me," he added softly, "but I want to understand you." Her voice shook as she spoke. There was an energy explosion in the lower city. A child was trapped under falling debris. I tried to protect her. "You saved her," Aiden said quietly. "Yes," Liara whispered, "but the blast hit me. The scars never healed." Aiden looked at her with admiration. "You're a hero," he said. Liara shook her head. "No one sees it that way," she whispered. "Not the nobles, not the princes, not even my father." Aiden stopped walking and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "I see it," he said. Liara felt tears fill her eyes. For years, she had carried the scars as a curse, but in that moment, Aiden's words changed something inside her. A small spark of strength began to grow. But in the shadows of the palace walls, not everyone was pleased. A group of alien nobles watched Liara and Aiden from a distance, their eyes filled with anger, fear, and jealousy. "This human is getting too close," one whispered. "If the princess chooses him, our traditions are finished." Another snarled, "A human becoming royal consort is unacceptable." The eldest noble, Lord Varen, clenched his fists. "We must act," he said coldly. "If we allow the princess to form feelings for a human, our empire will become a joke." A thin-fingered noble leaned closer, whispering, "Should we remove the human?" Varen smirked. "Yes," he said darkly. "Tonight." A deadly silence filled the hallway. The decision was made. That evening, Liara found herself walking alone through the quiet library halls, thinking about Aiden's words. She replayed them over and over in her mind. "I don't see a flaw. I see a fighter. You're a hero. I'm here if you want to talk." Every sentence lit a warm fire in her soul. But as she turned a corner, she felt a strange chill. Someone was watching her. Her instincts sharpened, her pulse quickened. She stepped back cautiously. Suddenly, a familiar voice spoke behind her. Calm, but serious. "Princess." Liara gasped softly, turning around to see Aiden. "You scared me," she whispered with relief. Aiden frowned. "I was looking for you," he said. "Something feels wrong tonight." Before Liara could respond, a shadow moved in the corner of the room. Aiden stepped in front of her instantly, protective, alert, ready to fight. A dagger flew from the darkness, aimed directly at him. Liara gasped. Aiden moved with lightning reflexes, grabbing her and pulling her behind a pillar. The blade hit the wall with a sharp crack. Footsteps echoed. Masked nobles emerged from the shadows, their weapons drawn. Aiden's voice dropped to a whisper. "Princess," he said, "stay behind me." Liara's heart slammed against her chest. Aiden wasn't just kind. He was willing to fight for her.
The rebellion against beauty. Aiden pushed Liara gently behind him as the masked nobles stepped out of the shadows. Their eyes glowed with cold hatred, and each one held a weapon designed for silent killing. The air felt sharp, heavy, dangerous. Liara's pulse hammered in her ears. She had faced insults, humiliation, and rejection her whole life. But this was the first time someone wanted her dead. Aiden stood firm, his posture steady, his jaw clenched with determination. "Princess,"
he whispered. "Whatever happens, do not move." Liara nodded weakly, her breath shaking. She had never seen such violence directed at her, all because a human dared to care? The lead noble stepped forward, his voice bitter and filled with venom. "The Empire cannot allow you to bond with a human, princess," he spat. "Your scars already disgrace us. A human consort would destroy what little dignity remains." Aiden's fist tightened. "She has more dignity than all of you combined," he growled, "and she doesn't need your approval." Varin, the eldest noble, laughed coldly. "You overestimate your importance, human," he sneered. "You are nothing but a threat, one that can easily be removed." He raised his weapon. A glowing blade hummed in his hand. Aiden reacted instantly, grabbing a fallen metal rod from a nearby shelf. He blocked the noble's strike just in time. Sparks flew as metal clashed with glowing energy. The sound echoed through the grand library hall. Liara cried out, "Aiden!" But Aiden stayed focused. "Stay back," he commanded. "I won't let them touch you." The nobles attacked together. Two moved toward Liara. Aiden spun, blocking one, kicking away the other. His movements were fast, precise, human combat training against alien precision. He fought like a man who had survived too many wars. But there were too many enemies. Aiden blocked a strike aimed at Liara's heart, taking the hit across his arm. He gritted his teeth, but didn't fall back. Blood dripped from his sleeve. Liara gasped, reaching toward him. "You're hurt." Aiden stepped forward, protecting her again. "It's nothing," he said. "I've taken worse." The nobles grew frustrated. Varin hissed, "He will not stop unless we break him first." Three nobles charged at once. Aiden couldn't block all of them. A heavy strike slammed into his ribs, knocking the air from his lungs. He stumbled back, breathless, coughing. Liara rushed forward despite his warning. "Aiden," she cried, grabbing his shoulders. He held on to her, steadying himself. "I'm fine," he whispered. "I'm not letting them hurt you." The nobles circled them like predators, ready to finish the job. Liara's hands trembled as she held Aiden's arm. "Please," she whispered, "stop fighting. They'll kill you." Aiden met her eyes. "If I fall, you fall," he said softly. "I can't let that happen." Her heart twisted. For the first time in her life, someone was willing to risk everything, blood, strength, life, for her. Before the nobles could strike again, a burst of blue light exploded from the corridor. Royal guards stormed in, led by Captain Terran, their armor shining in the glow of the energy shields. "Defend the princess!" Terran shouted. The battle turned instantly. The nobles tried to retreat, but the guards were faster, knocking them down, disarming them, arresting them. Varin tried to run, but Aiden tackled him to the ground, holding him until guards secured him. Liara watched, shaking, overwhelmed. Aiden looked exhausted, blood on his arm, bruises on his ribs, but he stood tall, unwavering. Terran approached, bowing to Liara. "Princess, are you harmed?" Liara shook her head slowly. "No," she whispered, "because of him." Aiden gave a tired smile, rubbing his sore ribs. "Happy to help," he said weakly, trying to sound casual. But Liara could see the pain in his eyes, the way he held his side, the way he tried to stay strong for her. She stepped closer and gently touched his injured arm. "You got hurt protecting me," she whispered, her voice trembling. Aiden met her gaze. "You're worth protecting," he said softly. Her heart hitched. The words sank deep into her heart. No one had ever said anything like that to her. Not her father, not her people, not the princes who rejected her. Only a human. Only Aiden. The arrested nobles were dragged out, yelling insults and threats. "This is only the beginning," Varin shouted. "The people will never accept a scarred princess with a human lover." Liara flinched. Aiden stepped in front of her again. "Ignore him," he whispered. "He's afraid, because he knows you're stronger than he ever was." Terran approached again, urgency in his tone. "Princess, we must take you to the throne chamber immediately. There has been an uprising in the city. The rebels are using your scars as an excuse to start a civil conflict." Liara's eyes widened in horror. "Because of me," she whispered. "Again!" Aiden shook his head gently. "No,"
he said, because they fear change, they fear truth, they fear someone who doesn't fit their perfect picture. He placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. You didn't start this war, he said, but you can end it. She swallowed hard. How? Aiden smiled softly. By showing them who you really are. Her heart pounded. She wasn't brave, she wasn't powerful, she wasn't perfect. She was scarred, broken, unwanted. But Aiden saw something else in her, something she desperately wanted to believe. Come, he said gently, let's face them together. Liara took a deep breath. A spark of courage lit in her chest. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel alone. A human walked beside her, not out of duty, but by choice. And that changed everything.
Heart stronger than scars. Liara walked beside Aiden through the long, shimmering corridors of the palace. Her steps were uneven at first, but each time she faltered, Aiden gently steadied her. Guards followed closely behind, leading them toward the throne chamber. Outside, distant booms echoed as rebels clashed with royal soldiers in the city streets. The sky beyond the palace windows glowed red, filled with smoke and energy flares. The empire was tearing itself apart, and Liara knew the reason: her scars, her existence, her possible bond with a human. Her heart felt like it was breaking under the weight of it. All this chaos, all this destruction, she whispered. It is because of me. Aiden stopped walking and turned to face her. No, he said firmly. This is happening because people fear what they don't understand. You didn't create their hate, Liara. They did. She looked down, her fingers trembling near her mask. But if I were perfect, if I didn't have these scars, none of this would happen. Aiden gently lifted her chin, making her meet his gaze. Perfection doesn't bring peace, he said softly. Courage does, and you have more courage in your scars than they have in their whole bodies. His words warmed her heart, but fear still lingered in her eyes. What if I'm not strong enough to face them? She whispered. Aiden smiled gently. Then let me stand with you, he said. You don't have to face this alone. Liara nodded slowly, feeling a pulse of strength grow inside her chest. For years, she faced humiliation in silence, but now she had someone who believed in her. Someone who stayed by her side not because of duty, but because he cared. And that gave her a strength she didn't know she had. When they reached the throne chamber, the emperor was already waiting. His expression was cold, stern, and filled with frustration. He looked at Aiden with open disapproval. Human, he said sharply, do you understand the trouble you have caused? Aiden stood tall, unafraid. With respect, Your Majesty, he replied. I didn't cause anything. I only protected your daughter. The emperor's voice hardened. Your presence threatens our traditions, our politics, our power. Liara finally spoke, her voice trembling but determined. Father, she said, Aiden is not the problem. The problem is that our people judge me for my scars. They see me as weak, unworthy. The emperor's jaw tightened. His silence was answer enough. He did believe that, at least partly. Aiden stepped forward. Your Majesty, he said, your daughter is stronger than any royal here. Liara's eyes widened slightly at Aiden's boldness. The emperor's eyes narrowed dangerously. Be careful, human, he warned. Aiden didn't back down. I've seen her stand alone while the galaxy mocked her. She deserves better than that. Liara's heart trembled. Someone, finally, stood up for her. Before the emperor could answer, the throne chamber doors opened onto the royal balcony. Thousands of civilians gathered below. Some held torches. Some carried banners demanding change. Others shouted angry words about scars, purity, tradition. Liara stepped forward, her heart pounding so loudly it echoed in her ears. The emperor stood behind her, guarded and tense. Aiden remained at her side, refusing to let her face the fire alone. When the crowd saw her, murmurs began to rise. The masked princess. The cursed one. She hides her face. Liara inhaled shakily, then slowly raised her hands to her mask's edges. Her fingers trembled. Aiden placed his hand over hers, steadying her. You're not alone, he whispered. With one deep breath, Liara removed the mask. A gasp rolled through the crowd like thunder. Some recoiled, some stared, some fell silent. The glowing scars on her face shimmered in the sunlight, reminders of pain, sacrifice, and survival. Liara's voice shook at first, but grew stronger with each word. "These scars," she said, "are not weakness." The crowd quieted, listening. "They came from saving a child," she continued. "I risked my life to protect someone who needed me." Shock rippled through the crowd. "For years, I hid these marks because I thought they made me unworthy," she said, "but they are proof of courage, proof of survival, proof of love." Her voice cracked, but she did not look away. "If you want a perfect ruler, I am not that." Silence spread across the entire capital. "But if you want a leader who understands pain, who knows fear, who fought for life even when it hurt, then I can be that leader." A trembling voice from the crowd shouted, "Princess Liara is a hero." Another voice rose, "Her scars are beautiful." More joined in, "Princess Liara, long live the princess! She saved a child." The anger turned into respect. Fear transformed into awe. Even the emperor looked shocked as the crowd began chanting her name. Liara turned to Aiden, her eyes filled with tears. "I did it," she whispered. Aiden smiled softly, wiping a tear from her cheek. "No," he said, "you always had this strength. I just helped you find it." She looked at him, her heart full, and for the first time in her life, she felt ink whole. But as the cheers grew louder, a shadow moved among the rooftops. A rebel sniper took aim at Liara. Aiden saw it a second too late. "Liara, down!" he shouted, pulling her close as a blast shot past them.
The human who became her mate. Chaos erupted across the royal balcony as the sniper's blast ripped through the air. Screams rose from the crowd below as guards scrambled, weapons drawn. Aiden pulled Liara down behind the marble railing, shielding her with his own body. Her breath hitched in terror. His heart pounded against her back. "Aiden," she whispered, trembling, "are you hurt?" Aiden gritted his teeth, checking his side where the blast grazed him. The skin was scorched, but not pierced. "I'm all right," he said quickly. "Stay low." Guards fired back toward the rooftops, but the sniper vanished into smoke. Rebel attackers began flooding the streets below, their banners waving, shouting that the Empire did not need a scarred princess or a human hero. Liara shook as explosions echoed through the city. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They'll destroy everything." Aiden grabbed her hands, steadying her. "Listen to me," he said urgently. "You just changed the hearts of thousands down there. You made them see truth. They saw you as a leader, but leaders are tested. Right now, you can't hide. You have to stand with them." Liara swallowed hard, fear squeezing her chest. "But Aiden, what if I fail?" Aiden cupped her face gently, his fingers brushing her scars. "You won't," he said softly, "because you're not alone anymore." Their eyes locked for a long moment, a moment filled with courage, fear, and something deeper. Something that had grown slowly between them, a bond stronger than the scars she carried. The last battle begins. The Emperor rushed onto the balcony, furious and shaken. "Liara!" he shouted. "Get inside now! The rebels are too strong. We must retreat." Liara stood slowly, Aiden helping her to her feet. But instead of stepping back, she took a deep breath and walked forward toward the edge of the balcony. Her father grabbed her arm. "What are you doing?" Liara pulled free, her voice steady, leading. The Emperor froze in shock. Guards and citizens watched as the scarred princess stepped into view, standing tall despite danger, despite fear, despite everything. Her voice carried across the city. "People of Valyria," she shouted, "do not fear the scars that mark me. Fear the lies that divide us." The crowd turned their faces toward her, waiting, listening. The rebels hesitated as her voice echoed like a burning star across the battlefield.
I fought to save life when others ran. I survived pain, humiliation, rejection. I hid because I thought I was weak. But today, I stand here because one person, one human, reminded me that scars are signs of battles survived, not shame to hide. Aiden felt a swell of pride in his chest as he stood behind her, ready to protect her with his life. Liara lifted her chin. "I am your princess, and I will not run," she said boldly. "I will face the rebels. I will face their hate, and I will not let fear rule this empire." A powerful energy rippled through the crowd. The rebels hesitated, their confidence shaken by the courage in her voice. Then Liara extended her hand toward Aiden. "And I won't fight alone," she declared. "I fight with the human who saw my worth when no one else did." The crowd gasped, thousands watching as she took Aiden's hand, holding it proudly, openly. At that moment, something unthinkable happened. The people began to cheer. "Princess Liara! Long live the princess! Protect them! Defend the royal line!" The rebels panicked, firing wildly. The guards charged forward with new strength. The city erupted into a fierce battle between loyalty and hate, hope and fear. Aiden looked at Liara, gripping her hand. "Stay behind me," he whispered. "I'll keep you safe." Liara shook her head, her eyes blazing. "No," she said. "I fight with you." She raised her hands, channeling the dormant energy she always feared to use. Her scars glowed bright blue, power surging through her veins. A wave of shimmering force blasted outward from her, knocking enemy fighters back, creating a protective shield around the balcony. Aiden stared in awe. "Liara, that power!" She smiled faintly. "I always had it," she whispered. "I just needed a reason to use it." That reason was him. Together they descended into the palace courtyard as guards fought rebels across the marble steps. Aiden grabbed a fallen guard's energy blade, fighting beside Liara, each of them protecting the other. A rebel lunged at Liara. Aiden blocked the strike, twisting the soldier's arm and disarming him. Liara used her energy to lift another rebel off the ground and send him flying into a wall. Their movements were in perfect sync, like they'd trained together for years. Human strength, alien power, heart and courage, side by side. The rebels realized the truth. The scarred princess was not weak. The human hero was not unworthy. Together, they were unstoppable. Within minutes, the rebel forces crumbled under the combined power of the guards and the royal pair. Many rebels surrendered. Others fled. The palace bells rang loudly, signaling victory, as citizens poured into the streets, cheering. The battle was over. A princess reborn. Liara stood on the steps, breathing heavily, her energy fading. Aiden rushed to her side, catching her as she nearly collapsed. "Easy," he whispered. "You're safe now." She leaned into him, exhausted but proud. I did it," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. Aiden brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You were incredible," he said softly. "Your people saw the truth today." The emperor approached slowly, humbled by what he witnessed. His voice trembled. "Daughter," he said, "I was wrong to hide you, wrong to doubt you." Liara looked at him, surprised. "Father?" The emperor bowed his head, something he had never done before. "Forgive me," he whispered. "You are stronger than any ruler before you." Liara's heart softened. She nodded slowly, accepting his words. Aiden watched quietly, proud of her bravery, her heart, her strength. A human chosen. That evening, the entire empire gathered in the throne chamber. The nobles who once mocked Liara now knelt in respect. The people outside filled the city with celebration. The Emperor stepped forward, raising his voice. "Today, my daughter has shown what true leadership is, strength not of perfection, but of resilience." He turned toward Lyra. "As your father and emperor, I give my blessing for you to choose your future and your mate." Whispers filled the hall. All eyes turned to Aiden and Lyra. Lyra stepped forward, her eyes shimmering. She reached for Aiden's hand. "I choose him," she said clearly, confidently. "The human who chose me when no one else did." The chamber erupted with gasps and cheers. Aiden stepped closer, placing a hand on her cheek. "Lyra," he murmured, "are you sure?" She smiled softly. "You saw my soul when the galaxy saw only scars. My heart belongs with you." Aiden felt emotion rise in his chest. He gently touched her glowing scars. "Your scars," he whispered, "are the most beautiful part of you." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his, breathing in his warmth, his truth, his love. The Emperor raised his staff. "Let it be known," he announced, "Captain Aiden Cross of Earth will stand as the royal consort of Princess Lyra." Cheers shook the palace. Aiden took Lyra's hand, and together they stepped out onto the balcony. The people screamed their joy, shouting her name, shouting his. Two worlds united, a love born from courage, a future built on strength, not perfection. Princess Lyra, once unwanted, once hidden, now stood proud with her human hero at her side. Her scars shone like stars, symbols of a heart that had survived the impossible. And as Aiden wrapped his arm around her, the galaxy finally saw the truth. She was not the scarred princess anymore. She was the queen of courage.